Awesome. Well, super nice to meet you guys. Thank you again for coming. I'm really excited to talk about Let It Do. You want to take it away? Okay, so my name's Hannah. Hey, I started major art department about 2 years ago. I've been working in set design since like 2017, 2018. Part of the reason I started MAD was because there's a massive deficit of the amount of women in this industry. And it's not just that, it's the fact that, I was just telling them when I got here, one of the biggest things that was an issue for me starting out is I worked with a bunch of really amazing, really talented dudes, but then a director would come on set, and even though I was the production designer, they'd walk straight to the closest guy. And whether he was a builder or a scenic or a PA, and try and get their opinion. And then I literally did a test one time where I had this great idea, talked to the director about it. He's like, nah, I'm fucking with it. Like, I don't want to do it. I was like, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, I know this is going to look good. I wish he listened to me. So I got my male counterpart to go up and say the same exact thing. Guess what we ended up doing? And so surrounding myself with like-minded women was really important. And so that way, if a guy came on set and wanted to talk to a man, I have a little bit of issues doing that. But then it's not just women that we hire either. Like, we hire a lot of really talented guys that, are comfortable taking direction from women, that want to be in the creative process regardless of who's running the show. And that's really, really important to make sure that everyone is getting equal opportunity. So we do hire a lot of dudes, but my initial kind of like driving factor was just wanting to see more women in the industry, because I felt like I was one of the only ones. So as a set designer, we'll get into it, a lot more in depth, but my job is essentially I get a treatment or a creative or something from a director or producer. Sometimes even the artists themselves will reach out to me. And then they'll either be like, hey, we've got this amount of money. Can you design something that will work for this creative? And I either say no, or I do it, or they're like, hey, design this, tell me how much it costs. And then we kind of go from there. So I'll get really deep into like the brass tacks of how that whole process works, from when a client calls me to when we're walking off set at the end of shoot, the shoot day.
Okay, so question number one. So what got you into set design?
I was working at Forbes Travel Guide. Initially, I went to college for journalism and for Spanish. And I wanted to work in PR, actually. I wanted to work in hospitality and journalism and that kind of thing. And since I'm bilingual, I wanted to, travel. Basically, I wanted to get paid to fly around the world, stay in fabulous hotels, and write about it, which I was on track to do. And then a friend of mine called me one day, and he was like, hey, I'm on this music video set. The art director isn't here. I'm just like an art PA, and the scenic didn't show up either, and we need this sign painted, and I know you can paint. Can you leave the office and come help me paint this sign? I was like, yeah, dope. That sounds like fun. I ended up quitting my job 4 days later. I walked on set, immediately fell in love with the atmosphere. I was not meant for the cubicle life. I was not meant for being told what to do. And it just, I didn't realize, when you're growing up and you're in high school and stuff, this isn't a job that you learn about. I didn't know this job existed until I was doing it. And that's something I'm trying to change today. But it's also to wake up and get paid to be creative. There's nothing better. You know what I mean? And I'm sure all of you who have a hand in some way, shape, or form in the creative industry can, vibe with me on that. It's the best thing in the world.
Okay. What inspires your designs?
Oh gosh, that depends. It can be anything from just like going on Pinterest and searching up like a color. Like, for example, if I get a treatment, which I'll show you a couple examples of music video treatments, so you can kind of see of like videos that already exist. So you can kind of see like the initial inspiration process. A lot of times directors will give me pretty solid insight and be like, okay, Hannah, I need a giant, for example, we did No Love with Summer Walker and SZA. And it was like, okay, I want a stripper pole that looks like it's on another planet. So I'm like, okay. And, immediately my mind went to like, they wanted reflection. So I'm like, okay, it's got to be standing in water. And I'm like, okay, but we need another kind of element to it. Initially, she was like, no, we don't need another element. And then she walks on set and she was like, oh, this is kind of boring on its own. And I was like, oh, shoot. Because I didn't have anything else at that point. So I took a bunch of flowers that we'd already arranged from another set that we ended up not shooting. And then I sent all my girls into the water and we all just placed them all around. And it ended up with that shot with SZA and Summer Walker on the, pole. And then there's all the crazy flowers everywhere. So it's just, sometimes the directors will change their minds on set, which is really scary. And that's honestly, I think when I'm the most inspired is when I'm in full panic mode. And I'm like, I just have to figure out something right now or, I'm gonna be in trouble. Another thing is, y'all download Pinterest. I mean, if a director is like, hey, I need a blue set, my ass will literally go into Pinterest and type in monochromatic blue set. And I will go in and I'll take little things and little inspirations and things from there. Another thing is I will go onto like YouTube and I'll watch a bunch of music videos. I like to watch older ones because I feel like the industry right now is so saturated. I feel like we see a new music video, a new drop 15 times a week. There's so much content out there and I feel like it's all inspired anyways by the stuff that's like early 2000s, late 90s, those kinds of videos. Like, I mean, you think Missy Elliott's videos. I mean, those are arguably some of the most creative music videos that are in existence. And she was one of the first ones to do it. I'm heavily inspired by her and by a lot of her stuff. And actually, she directed Twerkulator, which is a video I got to do as well. So I got to work really closely with her and see how her mind works, which was the craziest thing I've ever witnessed in my entire life. But yeah, I mean, you get inspired from so many things, but one of the biggest things is you get inspired by what's not already out there. It's finding new stuff, finding something that hasn't been seen before. Even if you take something, you're like, okay, this exists, but what if I like flipped it upside down? Or what if I changed the color scheme? Or what if I added this and this and this? It's more about creating something that nobody's seen before. So you're inspired by wanting to do something different. Yeah, sure.
So how long, like, if you had the choice, I know sometimes you get rushed.
Yeah.
How long is your process from getting the treatment and then, like you said, sometimes it's Pinterest, sometimes it's music videos. I know I get lost in like watching music videos. I'll watch forever. So like, how long do you think from getting the idea to getting them, like coming back to them with your final?
I mean, it totally depends. Like, for example, I did the Big Energy cover with Lotto and Mariah Carey. And then that evening, I got a call like, hey, can you be at Mariah Carey's house tomorrow and shoot through the night for a St. Patrick's Day like shoot for her liquor company? I was like, okay, and like, can you send creative and stuff over? And those situations, I will send them just a ton of freaking pictures. I won't really like kind of like hone in on anything and then just like basically cast a wide net and then pick up the stuff that I like the best once I'm actually in that process. A lot of times you'd be surprised how little time I get. Sometimes I'll get a call for a music video and they're like, girl, we're shooting in 3 days. Like we need renders right now. We need sketches right now. We need inspiration right now. And we'll be on a call with you in 4 hours. So a lot of times I don't get the time. And like I said, I think best when everything is on fire. So that I would say, I'd say that depends. It depends on the project. It depends on if it's something that I really like vibe with initially or if it's something out of my comfort zone. But it does change depending on the project, depending on the time frame, depending on the gravity and like the scope of the project as well. Yeah.
For sure. Favorite types of sets to design?
It's a hard question. My favorite types of sets are when a director calls me and is like, hey, this is my vibe, this is my budget, do something cool. I've been doing this for a while now, so I have a good amount of directors that I've worked with for a very long time and producers that trust my creative kind of vibe and know how I work and know the kind of stuff I produce. And a lot of times they won't give me many guidelines. Those are the best because I just get to be psycho with it, Also, I mean, from a broader point of view, I'd probably say, I want to say music videos, but God, they suck your soul away. I mean, it is working with, because it's not just one person you gotta, approve stuff with. The artist has to like it, the manager has to like it. If someone on the artist's entourage doesn't like it and voices their opinion, I gotta change it. The label has to approve it. There's so many levels of approval that it does get very stressful. Again, I'm far enough along in my career where I don't necessarily have to deal with that as much. Still do sometimes though. So I'd say probably in terms of being creative and what I get to build, music videos hands friggin' down. In terms of the way that shoots are run, commercials. Oh my gosh, you guys, the money is better. The chain of communication is better. The crafty on set is better. I went to one time, they had a girl doing B12 shots at Crafty. I have never been so happy to be at work in my life. There were 11 different kinds of Cheetos. Like what? I mean, fresh. I mean, it's so commercials for that reason, music videos for creativity. Commercials are the easiest in terms of the way things run, but music videos for the creative part.
So, how did you come up with major art department?
My dog's name is Major Tom. I named him after a David Bowie song. I've had him for about 5 years now. And most of these guys that have been on set with me know that he's probably on set with me also. Major Tom was kind of the basis of the name because he's always there, you know? And also the cool thing about the name is, like I said, I do a lot of commercial work and I do a lot of music videos. So I wanted a name that was going to be marketable towards both. I wanted to be able to, like for music videos, we're mad ATL. For commercials, we're major art department. You know, I wanted something that was versatile, that could, you know, kind of look cool and trendy, and then something that could also be marketed as a bit more demure. But yeah, that's pretty much the.
For sure. How do you go about picking props?
Picking props is probably used to be my favorite part of the job. I think it's probably not one of my favorites as much now. Generally, I'll come up with a concept and I'll have like my go-to props that I definitely need. Like I'll design a space and I'll be like, okay, I see a curved mid-century modern chair with this kind of like style kind of in there. And then I send out my girls, and then a lot of them do the sourcing. A lot of times also, I mean, I have been doing this in Atlanta for years now. There are multiple prop houses here, which I'll tell you guys all the names. So if you guys ever want to go by and check them out, I really suggest that. They're also a really great place for inspiration. But, you know, I know all those prop houses pretty damn well. Don't worry about it. I know all those prop houses pretty damn well. So like a lot of times I'll design sets knowing exactly which props are going in them before we even go source them. So that's probably that. And Amazon is my best friend. I know it's kind of a cop-out, but I mean, the most random stuff, you know, that I find, like a lot of it is from Amazon. I also spend a lot of times at like the vintage shops around here. And then we also make a lot of stuff. I have an incredible roster of fabricators all over Atlanta, some of even which are like, I've hired people out of New York to ship stuff down to me. I've hired people out of LA to ship stuff down to me. So the prop thing, it's hard because it does differentiate depending on what I'm looking for sure.
Sure. How do you determine your rate?
You set it and you don't freaking move from it. That is something that I struggled with very early in my career, where a director would under budget me like crazy. And that's, you know, where I'm really happy to see a lot of producers and directors and stuff here, because I think that is where a lot of directors and producers mess up in the very beginning stages, is they come up with a creative with a budget in mind already, and they don't okay it with me. And then I'm expected to make something amazing happen for not enough money. So the best is when a director will come to me and be like, hey, how much does this cost? You know, when directors come to me with an amount of money and a creative in mind, a lot of times I'm like, okay, you've got to cut this. This is impossible. Is this more important or is this more important? And those are never fun conversations to have. In the very beginning of my career, when I was trying to prove myself and I was trying to make a name for myself in the industry, I was taking any budget. The curse of the all-in budget, which we get often. People will say, hey, we've got $5,000 all in. You've got to do this creative in this amount. And what I used to do was budget out the creative and then see what was left for me and my team. I don't do that anymore. I set the rates for my team first. I said, okay, so what you have actually done by giving me an all-in budget is you've set your own budget. This is what my team costs to get this done. And this is what you have left over. And this is what I can do with that money. The biggest thing is this industry is so hard to get into. It is so hard to make a name for yourself. And there's so many hungry people out there that will do it for $100 a day, for $250 a day. And a lot of directors and producers will try and make you feel like, well, fine. Like if you're going to cost this much, then I'll hire someone for cheaper. I'm like, okay, go ahead. And then you'll see the difference in the final creative and what this looks like. You know, the amount of times I was just saying, you know, I've sent out set design, you know, concepts, like entire drawings and breakdowns and everything. And they're like, oh, this is a little expensive. We're going to put a pin in it. We'll do it later. And then 3 months later on YouTube, I see some, you know, crappy student version, you know, uploaded. And I'm like, okay, well, I mean, it's McDonald's versus caviar, you know, at that point. You know, it's like, what if you want to pay for it to look good, then you got to pay for it to look good. If you don't have that budget, that's fine, but work with me on it. You know, like that's why I sit there and I'm like, this is what the money that you have available, you know, and then we can go from there. But for my experience and for the time and the sweat and the effort and the tears, which there are lots of them, that I put into this job, this is what my time is worth now. And if you would like to pay that, great. If not, here is a multitude of other people in this industry that I know that could, get this done. But if you want my work with my roster and my name on this, and this is how much it costs. You just got to stick to your guns, because people will take advantage of you because they know you're hungry.
Okay. The last question I have is, what is some advice you have for someone starting out?
Learn as much as you can and start small. I came into this industry flaming hot. And I decided I was in charge, and I decided I knew everything and didn't listen to anyone, and I pissed a lot of people off. I think about the ways that I handled certain situations back when I first came into the industry, and I want to like curl up into a little ball. Like, it's just, you gotta be humble in the beginning, and you've got to understand that you're coming into this not knowing what you're doing. And then, not only that, but put yourself in the room with people that are where you want to be. And it's sometimes hard to do, but send out DMs. I mean, I met Rada in a park, and I was like, hey, I'm kind of doing this fun thing, help me drink this Prosecco. We ended up talking about work, and she was like, that sounds really interesting. Can I come work for you? And I was like, hell yeah. And she came on set, and she was friggin' amazing with zero experience. And one thing that I tell every single person I hire, and Rada, remember when I told you this, the only thing I cannot teach is work ethic. Everything else is 100% teachable. If you come on set and you're wanting the clout and the Instagram videos and all that stuff, like, this isn't your vibe. You need to come on set, you wanna work, you wanna provide a service, because unfortunately, that's what it comes down to. We are providing a service. And yeah, I get to put my name on it, and I get to, get pictures with, famous people and, working and doing cool stuff. And yes, that is a large part of the job, but you gotta come on set just ready to kind of lay it out on the table and ask questions, And that was, again, when Rada was on her first set, one of the main things my girls, which major our department, they were on set without me. I was doing something else at the time. They said one of the best things about her is that she asks questions. That she, if you ever feel like you don't know how to do something, it's better that you don't just try and do it. I respect the hustle, but you're gonna break something or you're gonna hurt yourself, and then I'm gonna get mad. So it's just, the best thing is you ask questions, you ask for clarification. No one in this industry that wants to teach you is gonna get mad about you mad at you for asking questions. So just reach out to people on Instagram. I mean, you never know. I mean, worst case scenario, they don't respond, or they say, no, I'm not looking for help right now. I mean, best case scenario, they're like, yeah, come on, let's go, So just, I'd say put yourself out there as much as you can, and kind of run it that way.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
The floor is yours.
Floor is mine. Okay.
Let me move this out of the way.
So, I guess what I kind of want to start by doing, I think I'm going to pull up a treatment for a music video that I've already done. And then I'm going to walk through it with you. So I have a couple options. I also have Twerkulator. I have the treatment that Missy Elliott and her team wrote. We can go through that as well. And then I also have the wheelie treatment from one of my most recent projects by 21 Savage and Lotto. So, I mean, should we vote? Like, how do you want to do this? On which one we want? Okay, so for the DJ Khaled one, raise your hand. Okay, 3 for that. All right, Twerkulator? Yeah, I had a feeling we're just going to go with that. Okay. So,
It was a lot going on in that video. I want to see.
I mean, and when I tell you that this music video was one of the biggest challenges, and it's funnily enough, I actually have my first sketch so we'll watch the video really quick for those of you who haven't seen it. I'm super prepared and I have it pulled up already. I'm ready to go. I had a feeling, because that is one of my most recognizable projects, and it's and also if you look in the far right of the set, you'll see my company logo. I kind of cheated and put it in there. Yeah. So when we have the big dance sequence, look in the corner, you'll see Mad Atlanta up on the right. I painted it. And Missy was like, yeah, let's go.
Shake my money maker. It's time for the Twerkulator. It's time for the Twerkulator. It's time for the Twerkulator. It's time for the Twerkulator.
See it up there? I cheated. I mean, I couldn't have all that graffiti up there and not put a little plug, you know? So this, funnily enough, I actually have it. So the first, if we want to go here, the first setup, oh, come on. Right here, this whole kind of vibe, this whole like subway setup, right? This was my initial pitch for it. I just was gonna do an alleyway. And then I was gonna have girls kind of hanging off of here. I was gonna make this safe. I was gonna have like girls on the floor. I was gonna have a girl hanging from the clothesline. Like I was gonna have all kinds of crazy stuff. And then we're sitting there and I talked to the choreographer, Sean Bankhead, who is iconic and has done a bunch of music videos with me. He's amazing. And he was like, yeah, I'm gonna have like 20 dancers in there. That's not gonna fit. So when I tell you that I had, I mean, all of my sketches don't look like this. I wanna show you what it looks like when I get a call at 10 p.m. like, hey, Hannah, this actually needs to be 5 times that size. You know, I'm gonna see if I can find it in here, but it's like not every set. I mean, again, here's, this is Panic Hannah with a marker in bed at 10 p.m., like not knowing what she's doing. So this was another layout that I pitched, right? So having a break wall in between, having girls come out of the side. Here's the MCM room that I literally drew over in order to like give, this was the final concept that you can see here that I ended up actually using. So my nice sketch didn't even get used. And by this point, there was no time to redo any of it. The MCM room too was really cool. I actually got to work with one of the creative directors for MCM and design that fabric myself, and I have a huge roll of it in my storage right now that I have no idea what to do with. So if y'all know anyone that wants a bunch of MCM fabric, let me know. But yeah, this one, I can show you the treatment now, so you can see this is the stuff before any of the sketches were made, before anything kind of came to light. This is what I was given by, their creative teams. So let me make this full screen for you. Enter full screen. Okay, so I'm not gonna make you read everything. A lot of times treatments will start with this little like, this is that, we're going for something luxurious and fabulous and never before seen. Like almost every single treatment has a little blurb like that in the beginning. And then this is which is really important, which I love it when directors do this. They actually put the quotes of the songs when we're supposed to see the scenes. That gets really helpful when they are actually referencing a certain part of the song to like something I'm actually supposed to build, because that helps with my planning. When I'm building like 5 really intense sets like that, I know, okay, if they're shooting at 8 a.m. and I'm not seeing this line and this scene until 5, I can make sure I have the 8 a.m. sets done, and then I can be working on this other stuff while they're shooting the other thing. So that is really helpful for those of you that want to write treatments. Also, visuals are the most important thing in treatments. I mean, they help me so much. Every now and then, sure, I'll get treatments that are just very, broad and don't really give a lot of insight into what exactly they're looking for. But then at that point, that's when I get to be super creative and I get on the phone with the director and I'm like, okay, what about this, 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 and this? But this is helpful and it makes the process go a bit faster, especially when you're in a time crunch and you don't have time to like shoot the shit with the director. Having the visuals, is really helpful. I mean, you saw this exact shot, in the set or in the music video. Which actually this was all green screen, so I didn't really have to do much for that, which was really nice. I was initially gonna have to build the clock, and that was one of those conversations where I was like, okay, I can build this clock, but then I'm not gonna have time to do this for the beauty store, or I'm not gonna have time to do this for, the city block scene. And then we finalized at the end, okay, then this is the one thing in this video that can be done in post. Okay, so this is where they started talking about wanting the city setup. Notice how they really, this is the MCM setup. Here we go. Camera takes us inside where the girls are camouflaged into the couch. Think monochromatic yet invisible to the eye, rather body paint or wardrobe. The ladies are blended in with the sofa. So that MCM thing, when we were designing that was also a brand plug. And that was really hard because the brand all had to be facing the same way on all the wardrobe. And then the actual brand had to bleed into whatever like kind of thing I had in the background. So that was a struggle because I actually had to do measurements on the girls depending on like what their heights were to make sure that they blended into the wall perfectly. And we weren't having that many overlapping logos. So that was hard. This is actually a scene that got cut because it was another one of those conversations where it was a time and a money thing. Just to put it in perspective, you guys, I was on that set for 26 hours straight. I fell asleep underneath a chair for like 45 minutes, and that was the rest that I got that day. But it's a lot of times these directors will be really, really bold with their initial pitches. And then, you know, once they talk to me or they talk to producers, once we get money going, then they start to scale back. So as a director, as a creative director, when you're pitching something, don't feel like just because of the money you have, you're not able to just put all of your ideas on paper, because then you get to talk to your team and you get to figure out what's most important to your narrative, what's gonna work in the budget, and what's gonna look best on camera. It's really important to have, you know, give as many options as possible, because at this point, you know, it really sucks when I get a treatment from a director and they give me like 3 huge, really intense, really expensive sets. And I'm like, you got to come up with something smaller, and then maybe I can do 2 sets and then we can do something smaller. But if you're giving me just a bunch of really expensive stuff off the rip, it's going to be a not fun conversation when you're having to scale back on budget. You start with big stuff, but then have little inserts and stuff that can maybe make up for things that you're not able to afford, whether it's with time or with money. So that was a cut scene there. So this was, that acrylic. You guys saw the you know, people dancing on top of the acrylic. That was an 8x8 sheet of acrylic that weighed about 800 pounds. That's a really hard shot to get. Just, you know, it looks really cool. It's a really hard shot to get. Acrylic, that piece of acrylic alone, I think was almost $3,000 just for that one piece. And then we had to build a frame that could support it and like multiple humans at once. And that itself was about another $1,500 on top of that. Think about that, for that little insert shot, $5-6 grand, you know, for something that minor. So that's really your job as creatives, is to go in there and think about what is the most important thing to your entire vibe. You know, I told them $6 grand and they kind of winced a little bit, but Missy Elliott was just like, no, this is what I want. Like, I want this shot in there, because that also, tell me that did not give you like early Missy Elliott type vibes, you know? So there was that. Wait, I think there was another point in there. We see the skaters, they were on there, that kind of stuff, and then we're good there. The beauty salon. That one killed me. That was a hard one. Especially since I am, you know, white as hell and does not know what goes into a black, like, you know, a black and brown, you know, beauty store. Like, that's not, I didn't know what was in there. So, I mean, I had, luckily, you know, a bunch of really amazing women on set with me that did frequent those beauty stores and were like, okay, these are the wigs you need. These are like the combs you need. I learned a lot about black hair that day. It was really cool. But, you know, and that's the other thing, is admitting, you know, when you don't know how to do something and calling in people that do. Rada, Annette, again, I keep on using you as an example, I'm sorry. But I was doing the short film that I had her on for her very first job. I was doing a disco 70s shoot in India in the 70s. I was not alive during the 70s, nor have I ever lived in India. And luckily, Rada has, or her family has, and she knows, I mean, she's a first generation, you know, like from India. And so she was able to come in and she was able to show me, okay, so this is actually more stereotypical like Indian, and this is like actual legit stuff that would be in these places. Because I didn't want to look like Bollywood threw up everywhere, you know what I mean? I never want to be disrespectful towards any kind of culture I'm trying to portray. And especially, like, I mean, I did a video for Tiana Taylor, We Got Love. And I got a call, and this was my first job with Tiana Taylor, who became a longtime client and friend of mine. My first video with her was We Got Love, and I got a call. I was like, Hannah, I need you to build an African village. I'm like, and you called me? But like, also, I'm like, I cannot be the white girl that fucks up the African village, you know? So I'm going to like all the like Afrocentric stores in Atlanta, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna zone in on one specific region, one specific culture, religion, and that's what I'm gonna use. Because I didn't, you know how you see something that's African and people go on set and they're just like, Africa, you know, and it's like bongos and they got the neck rings, and then they've got the 19 different cultures are being referenced. I literally shipped in kente cloth from the exact region that I was trying to portray. Me and the team that I was working with at the time, we hand dyed like 5,000 pounds of sand to be the exact shade of clay that was found in the region we were trying to portray. I didn't want to be stereotypical. I didn't want to, you know, just, again, be the white girl that goes in and is like, let's just get African stuff. you know? Like, I wanted to make sure I was being respectful, and I'm portraying, you know, something. You got to be portraying it with respect and like ingenuity as well, you know? So that was another, this was one of these examples where I was like, I need help. So I got it, and the girls, you know, I think we did a great job. I mean, they made it look amazing. Let's see, and this is the Michael Jackson reference. But you know, this was actually where I got the inspiration for the windows. You see the two windows, and then in the actual final shot, you know, there are the two windows on either side. And you know, I wanted people hanging out of those windows, like, because I wanted to make sure that I'm incorporating things from the treatment, you know, into my final product. It was definitely, I mean, I'm compelled to literally go through my group text with the entire creative team, Missy included, of me sending, you know, crazy person sketches. Because I mean, you know, you'll see, I'll do something as intense as, you know, God, that was Family Feud. Okay, oh, here's the one for initially we were gonna do life-size buildings for that initial scene. It got real expensive though, so we did little ones. But you know, I'll be, you know, as intense as something like this, you know, when I'm doing a hospital scene, and then I'll go, you know, as crappy as I was with the ones earlier. And there's certain points when, as, you know, a director or producer, you have to realize, okay, the director's making changes. We have this amount of time. We're not gonna get renders. We're not gonna get brand new, like really thought out, colored, you know, 2-scale sketches this late in the game. That is something that will stress out your art team, that will stress out your production team. And it makes things really, really difficult. So yeah, with this one, initially you saw there were probably 8 different layouts that I designed for that setup. And the one that we finalized on was the one that I did in blue highlighter in the bottom corner of a page that I'd already sketched on. So it doesn't always, keep in mind, it doesn't always have to be beautiful. Your biggest job, and arguably one of the most important things about my job, is selling it. You know, if I can sit there and I can show you a sketch that probably isn't like super great and doesn't really explain a ton, but I can sit there and I can walk you through it and I can sell it to you, I mean, that's the most important thing. You have to learn how to talk to your clients. You have to learn how to paint a picture with words. And then, you know, even if I don't have time to send everything out, then I'll go online, I'll look up, you know, cityscape window, and I'll get a zoomed in picture, like I'm thinking this for this area. And like I send another reference picture, this for this area. You don't always have to sketch everything out, but the more visual references you can provide when walking a client through this kind of stuff, the better it's gonna be. And then we have our cute little let's shoot slide at the end. I mean, and just, you know, I won't do as intense of a thing, you know, but then it's good for, I think it's good to show different kinds of treatments. So Colin Tilley, who is another incredibly talented director, I freaked out when I saw his name on this treatment. He's done most of Justin Bieber's videos. I mean, he's done a lot of really amazing stuff. This is from him. Notice, initially, by the way, that Turculator video, that was Missy Elliott's that was her directorial debut. She had never directed something before. So I mean, so it was really nice to get all those visuals from her. It helped, you know, me guide her through that process. Colin Tilley doesn't necessarily need to do all that because he's been directing for a really, really long time. Again, the introduction, you know, I can let you guys kind of read that, but he even has, you know, video references to other music videos that he likes. And then he gives like the general overview of the kind of project that he's trying to, you know, convey. So he's got the words gritty and grounded and Atlanta. And I'm like, you know, let's go. Like, cause I mean, I'm not born here, but raised here my entire life. I grew up on Edgewood. I went to Grady High School, you know, like no, Atlanta. Yeah, so, you know, he talks about inspired setups, amazing choreography, dirt bikers. We literally hired BMX bikers, had this giant inflatable like crash pad and a giant ramp. We had people on motorcycles flying through the air. It was one of the craziest things I've ever done. But this is the kind of stuff that's really important. So as videographers, because I'm not the only one that gets this, by the way. When a treatment is sent out, it's sent to the producers, it's sent to the directors of photography, it's sent to the cam ops, it's sent to everybody. These kinds of shots where you see like, you know, like the light hitting her face and the wet, that helps makeup. You know, like you get references for wardrobe, you get references for the location scouts. Everybody that works on this project works off these treatments. And the more detailed you are for every single department, you know, the better it is. Every time I've written a treatment, I have a full slide for makeup and wardrobe. I have a full slide for locations. I have a full slide for lighting, just to be as detailed as possible as, you know, to what exactly I'm looking for. Eventually I'd like to direct. I'm kind of happy doing production design now. I definitely, I definitely eventually want to direct, but it is, I've done it once. It was stressful and I have no interest in pursuing that for the foreseeable future. So good luck to you directors out there. But that was the thing, you want to make sure that you're being as detailed and communicative as possible for every single aspect of your music video. If you want it conveyed in the right way, if you want it budgeted out in the right way, because Colin sends this out to even their line producers. Who are like, okay, so he's asking for this and this and this. These are the things that we're going to need to budget out for, and then they kind of go from there. So it's really important to be as detailed and explain as much as you can for every single department and every single treatment. Again, literally just a slide of pictures. Ah, the dirt bikes. These guys were super fun. And then, the other thing, you guys, insurance stuff, don't bring anything on a set. Do not hire anybody on anything until you have some sort of insurance or some sort of guarantee that if someone's stuff gets damaged, they're going to be compensated. That's just something that I have to say, because the amount of times that I have taken jobs, especially early in my career, where I will, rent something or buy something and then we damage it on set and I didn't provide a COI or ask for it in advance, then it's on me and my company, because I need to make sure that I maintain a good relationship with the prop houses, with the picture car guys. It's always important to cover your ass as much as possible when doing all this kind of stuff. Certificate of insurance. So if you have an insurance company or if you have an LLC, you can go out and you can, apply for insurance for your company. And so I suggest, if you don't have it for yourself, if you're working with a production company, make sure you're using theirs. And honestly, if you're hired by someone, always use their insurance. If it's your own project, you can use your own. But if you're being hired out by another person, use your own insurance. Okay, this was the mattress store. And this was super fun, because have you guys seen the wheelie video? Some of you maybe. So initially they wanted, I can show a picture from it, but initially Colin wanted this, he wanted Lotto to be the manager of this mattress store and put her in a cute little uniform and all that kind of stuff. And I, taking a big leap of faith and telling a director, hi, I know you've been doing this for, X amount of years and you've worked with some of the biggest names in the business, but I might have a better idea. It was the scariest thing I've ever done. But I did, and he actually ended up using my concept in the video, which was Lotto on, I have it saved. This was what I sent to him. I was actually on another set and I panic sketched this out. And I was like, what if, she's actually just this queen of the mattresses, and we have her on, we put dancers, right in front of her, all positioned out, and kind of make it more of a performance shot than a narrative. And he was like, hell yeah, down with that. So we actually ended up getting to shoot it. So it's really a toss-up, because I'd like to say you shouldn't overstep and you shouldn't, pitch things when you're working with people for the first time. But if you're really passionate about something, you really think it's a good idea, definitely put yourself out there. Just do it in a respectful way where you're not coming at them like, hey, my idea is better. But it's like, hi, I have a different take. Would this be something that you're interested in? But definitely put yourself out there, put out your ideas, because a lot of times, people are down. And the girls that I work with, the amount of times that I'll go to them and I'll be like, okay, so I'm thinking about this idea, what do you think about, doing this instead? Or do you have another idea? And they always have ideas. They always have opinions. One of my girls on my team, Savannah, actually came up with a whole setup for this video, and she's my art coordinator, and though she does have her hands in a bunch of other things on set, she took complete control over a whole area of the set and ended up being one of the principal shots. So it's you always want to be collaborative. You always want to put yourself out there. You always want to take ideas from other people as well that are on your team. You never want, the amount of times that I look back and I was like, nope, it's my idea and nobody else's idea. I want this just to be my project. They didn't look as good as they could have, because I wasn't taking, the ideas and the recommendations from other people. So I would say it's really important to listen to the people you have on your team. You have them on your team for a reason. Capitalize on that creativity, and everyone else has different experiences. Everyone else has a different eye, and the more varying kind of perspectives you can have, on a video during, in a concept, the better your stuff's going to look, the more versatile and the more new and unseen it's going to be. So we can go back to the treatment here. So there was that scene there. We have this, which we literally ended up getting, and thank God I was not responsible for this. I told them, I'm like, look, if someone could potentially die in some sort of stunt or anything on set, I don't want anything to do with it. And I go as far as even saying, if we're hanging stuff on set, whether it's a chandelier or something crazy from the ceiling, I tell the rigging team, I'm like, I am not a licensed rigger. I don't know how to hang this safely. I am not going to hang it. You remember with the disco ball, we for this last shoot we got a disco ball the size of a small car. And I told them verbatim, I'm like, I'll get this disco ball, but I ain't touching it. I ain't hanging it. Because the first time that falls on a talent person, guess who they're gonna look at? And I don't wanna be responsible for hurting anybody. So that's another important thing. Don't ever try and do it all yourself if you're not 100% confident. The most important thing on set is safety. And if you're out here trying to do all of it, things are gonna fall through the cracks. Okay, more image references, and then literally, he doesn't even give you a thank you at the end. It's Colin Tilley, he doesn't need to, you know? So, I mean, with all that said, you know, just to wrap up that kind of portion of the classes is, you know, I get my inspiration from so many different places, but when I'm working with a director that has a really set kind of vision, it makes my job so much easier. It makes it easier for me to give him options that are within his budget. It makes it easier for me to pitch new ideas that are piggybacking off the stuff that they already have done. The more detailed and the more upfront you are in the beginning, the less room there is to mess something up or to not get what they want. And then there's nothing worse than a director walking on set and being like, oh, this isn't really what I want. So that's another thing. Communication is so important leading up to everything. I try and do prop books and prop decks before every single shoot I get in. So these directors and these producers, they're seeing exactly what I'm bringing. And I send them the deck and I'm like, this is what I'm bringing on set. And so that way if they get on set and they're like, okay, well, where's this thing? I'm like, did you see it in the prop deck? Then I don't have it. So, you know, it helps you cover your ass as well as like give, you know, the transparency that's needed, you know, with your clients. You want to be as upfront and as detailed as possible in pre-production, so that way nobody walks on set disappointed, nobody walks on set expecting anything that, you know, they're not going to get. But, you know, when it comes to like inspiration and stuff, it is, I get it from everywhere. I get it from the people I work with. I get it from online. I get it from past music videos. You know, there's a ton of different avenues to kind of go down. And if I ever have a creative block, the best thing I do is I'll go watch, I'll sit online and I'll scroll through Netflix, some of like the unwatched movies and TV shows and kind of look at that stuff, kind of the stuff that isn't as popular, try and do something maybe that nobody's seen. Or, you know, you just scroll through Instagram, scroll through your Explore page, go through Pinterest, type in something. If you just are typing in like, you know, jail cell set, then you're gonna get 500 options for jail cell sets. Okay, I'm gonna take a little from here, I'm gonna take a little from here, take a little from here, and then just start sketching. Honestly, for example, I might I want to see if I can I'll pull it up on my phone. So I am doing a project coming up. I can't be too descriptive into what it's for or who it's for because I will get sued. So I saw this picture. Okay, can everyone see? Kind of okay, right? So it's just like this cool red arch stair thing. And I'm like, because I was completely uninspired. And I sat there and that was the first thing I drew on this little sketch. I know I'm happy to pass this around if you like. That was the first part of this set I drew and I just built off of it. And I'm scrolling through, you know, Pinterest. If you pull up a picture you like, you can scroll through, you'll see related pictures and things that kind of like maybe piggyback off that same vibe. And you just end up with like a smorgasbord of ideas and then you put it on paper. I would suggest everybody, if you are interested in learning to draw sets, look up perspective drawing tutorials on YouTube. I'm currently learning perspective drawing myself because right now I can do 1-point perspective. I'm trying to learn 2-point perspective. I'd master the former before even getting into the latter because it is the most arguably frustrating thing in the world. There's also the option of learning SketchUp, which I've been trying to learn for 3 years. And it took me 45 minutes to rotate a toilet the other day on this program. It is infuriating. And I just get so much done faster when I'm just drawing things out. Like I've got this shoot that's coming up in like 3 weeks. Here we go. You know, 3 sets that I just designed out and, you know, did it really fast. And then at the end now, the clients are asking for renders. And so I'm now outsourcing my render to someone else. But I sketched this out and this got approved by client. As long as you can convey what you're trying to do, what you're trying to show in a way that's organized, which I am never. But, you know, when that's organized, and then you can outsource the kind of stuff that you don't necessarily know how to do.
So,
happy to pass this around.
Is the renderings and all that stuff included in your overall budget? Or
So rendering, so for sets and stuff, and I can get into kind of that whole process now. So basically, I get sent a treatment. At this point, rates haven't been discussed, budget really hasn't been discussed, I take a look at the creative and I kind of discuss with the director and the producer, okay, what are you thinking for money? What are you thinking for creative? What sets are we gonna need to build? What sets are gonna be on location that already exists? Like, what are you gonna need from me exactly? And then once we cover all that, you know, I was telling you guys earlier, the cursed all-in budget, which I used to start out by budgeting out creative and then seeing what was left for crew. And I would screw myself and I would screw my crew because I wouldn't have enough people or they wouldn't be paid for enough days or we wouldn't have enough money. So now what I do is I say, okay, you've given me an all-in budget for 10 grand. Okay, 7 of that has to go to me and my team. You have 3 grand left for your music video. What do you want me to do with that? So it's really important to kind of have those conversations in the beginning. When it comes to me as a production designer, my sketches, yes, are included. If I have to outsource a render for a client, which I rarely do, to be honest, I've probably had to do it 6 times in my entire career. Outsource a render, because a lot of times, whether it's for lighting or whether it's for a more commercial-based client, they want to see it, you know, digitized. That is basically what, you know, I will outsource that to someone and then I will put that in my budget as a line item. Like renders cost this. My sketches don't cost anything because that's part of my job. The part of my job is to design it and then send it out. So then from there, then I get on with my art director or my prop master, my art coordinator. And that's kind of who I start with. And we discuss, you know, okay, this is what these are the props that I'm gonna need. This is the vibe I'm going for and whether I have stuff already in mind or I'm like, ladies or men, most of the time ladies, send me options. Like this is the vibe I want. This is the, what I'm looking for. And then, I mean, they jump into action and I'm getting reference pictures immediately. You know, I have 28,000 photos on my phone and I'd say a good 19,000 of those are props. So it's just sending, taking as many pictures for whether you're the production designer or you're the art director, art coordinator, prop master, you take as many pictures as possible for your PD. Take as many pictures as possible for your director so that way you can send all that out and get approvals on everything. Because how do you know that this director maybe has like a personal vendetta against the color orange and you fall in love with an orange chair and you don't get approval on it and then you show up on set with it and he wants to smack you. You want to make sure that you're being as transparent as possible. So then we start with the props. And while they are handling the props, once I've expressed what I need from them, that's when I get kind of down to design. And depending on the director, depending on the DP, that level of communication varies. I love it when I'm able to just call them up and be like, okay, this is what I'm thinking. I'm working through this sketch now. Can I FaceTime you and show you kind of where I'm at? For the sketch you're looking at now, I think there's another, again, this is a brand new pad, so you're gonna have to excuse how empty it is, but there's a sketch before it of a little set that's clearly not measured out. Clearly there's no rulers. And I did that on FaceTime with the director. Oh, what if we do this? What if we do that? So having that open line of communication with your creative team is really, really helps in pre-production. You want to make sure that you're having, you're able to kind of express all your ideas and then incorporate their ideas into your design. So that way you're not having to draw sets out 15 different times. So from there, once I get all the sketches approved by all the levels of clients and all the levels of people that it needs to go through, then I make the super fun call to my builders. So I hire a bunch of different build teams in Atlanta. We have a couple favorites, but a lot of times there's a lot of work here. Stuff gets booked really fast. And luckily I have a lot of flats that, Mad owns. So we can kind of start out, we can rent those instead of having those custom built, which, can get really expensive and time consuming. But I reach out to this is Shaq. This is for later. But, that gets really time consuming. So you talk to your build team and then you get a quote on lumber. You say, hey, this is the lumber and the stuff that I already have. This is the design. How much is it going to cost? How many guys do you need to do it and how much time? And then I go back to the producers and the directors that have already approved the sketch and be like, okay, this is what it's going to cost. This is how much time it's going to take to do it. This is how much time I need on site. This is how much time I need off site. And then sometimes from there, they'll be like, oh, that's too expensive. And then we'll have to backtrack and I have to go back to the drawing board and then I have to go back to the builders. And I've done that process on one shoot, sometimes 4 or 5 times. It just depends on what is available, in terms of the production budget. So from the build team at this point, the other girls, the other Mad girls that are on the project have most likely compiled a very large list of props that I have to go through. And then we sit down, we have a team meeting and we go through everything. And we're like, okay, this is gonna go there. This room is gonna be this color. This is the stuff I need here. And then luckily, my girls and I, we we move like such a well-oiled machine now. You know, I send out the bat signal and they know exactly what to do. They know exactly what I'm looking for and what order I'm looking for it. And, you know, it's really nice because I don't feel necessarily like, I used to feel like I had to do all of this on my own. And so it's really important to build up a team of people you trust and people that are good at what they do in order to get your stuff done. Because I have so many girls, now I don't have to be the one going to the prop houses and taking pictures of everything while also being on the phone with clients and owing sketches to client and owing sketches to builders and having to price it out. I have a team that can help me with that now. And now I can focus so much more on the actual design and the client relations and all that stuff, and everything else gets done because I have incredible people that work with me. But, you know, I'd say delegation at this point in the process is arguably your most important thing that you need to be able to do. I am a control freak and I like updates as much as possible, but there are times, you know, where we're on such a short time frame where I got to put my trust in the girls that work with me. And I just got to be like, look, this is what I need. Get some options. We'll figure it out on set. You know, so it's honing in on what you're good at and getting people to work with you that are, you know, good at the stuff that you maybe aren't or don't have time to do. From this point, we start our build time and our prop sourcing time. So the build team, I'm managing the build team as well as managing the prop sourcing and purchases. My art coordinator, her job is to find vendors, and her job is to make sure that everything gets to set when it's supposed to, and it gets to set safely. Ratchet straps, ladies and gentlemen, are important. Learn how to use them when you are picking up props and organizing them in your trucks. Tie everything down because things break and then you got to pay for it and it really sucks. So at this point, everyone has kind of got their jobs. Everyone is out doing their thing. I'm managing things from a client perspective. And there are times where we'll be like nearing the end of a production or, you know, pre-production process. And I get a call and it's like, the artist, I know you were doing a monochromatic purple room and you've painted all these walls purple and your floor is purple and all your props are purple and all your furniture is purple, but actually we want it green now. The amount of times that happens, and I just got to be like, I have my power cry for like 35 seconds in like the studio bathroom, and I come out and I'm like, okay, let's do it. You know, it's a lot about operating under pressure. It's a lot about, you know, being able to change, you know, at the last minute, and to be flexible without being a pushover. There are certain times where that happens, and I'm like, no. We shoot in 8 hours. I'm not rebuilding this entire set for you because it's not just me that can't do it, but I'm not about to walk over to my team that's been doing this for 16 hours and say, hey, y'all got to do this all over, because there'd be mutiny. So, you know, it's important to recognize what you're able to do, what your team is able to do, and when you're asking too much of your team, and you have to be able to stand up to some of these clients. Be like, look, this isn't possible with your budget. This isn't possible with your time frame. We can't do these changes in this time frame because it's going to cost too much and it's going to piss everybody off. So that's like that kind of pivotal point in the shoot when things start getting done and people start actually seeing things in person and might want some changes. I'm not saying don't make any. I'm saying just, you know, be smart about the changes you allow them to make and don't put yourself in a position where you're not able to provide, you know, what you're saying you're able to. And then, you know, we get to shoot day. What's up?
Oh, I had a question.
Oh, yeah.
How important is it to have a photographer on set?
That depends on the client, to be honest. I would say for me, I love having BTS, and I love people being able to see the process and all the work that goes into this stuff. I mean, I think I have some pictures of like the Missy Elliott like prep time and everything. It is, oh, that's for another shoot. But, you know, I have, let's see. They might be in here, it might not. Okay, so maybe not, but I'll find them in a second once I get you guys working on your little like thing that I got y'all doing in here in a moment. But, you know, there's so much that goes into this, and there's so much more than what you just see on camera. You know what I mean? I mean, like, you got to think everything that you see in front of a camera when we're building sets, we put that there. A lot of times we're given an empty warehouse and we make it look like that freaking, you know, city block. You know, everything that is there was precisely put there with, you know, thought and consideration. And I mean, it gets stressful. It's a lot, you know, I'm not gonna lie, this stuff gets really overwhelming. I cry at least 3 times a week. Like this is a really, really hard job. But if you are organized and you have people that work with you that are, you know, driven and hardworking and that are willing to learn and ask questions, you know, it makes it easier. But this, you know, it's still hard. It's a hard job. You get a lot of no's. You get, try to take advantage of a lot. You work really long hours. Thank God I'm able to bring my dog on set, or else I wouldn't have one. I don't sleep very much. My social life pretty much consists of, hours between 10 p.m. and 4 a.m. And then I sleep for 3 hours and then I get to, go back to work. It's a lot of your personal relationships will suffer. A lot of vacations will get canceled. A lot of family is going to get upset with you. But if you love it, it's sacrifices you got to make. And, maybe you start out and you're not willing to make those sacrifices in the beginning, and that's okay. You gauge what you're able to do with your emotional and physical ability. You don't push yourself too far, because you will break. I have done it. It's all about maintaining listen to yourself, be smart about it. Don't take on 10 projects at once, because you won't be able to do each one right. And make sure you've got, you're communicating with your team. You're communicating with the people that are on your side trying to make your job easier, or else you're just going to put too much on yourself. And again, you will break and things will fall through the cracks and it'll be your name on it. So it's really important to keep that kind of stuff in mind. But yeah, once the shoot wraps up, then it is all on kind of back into like crazy mode. The builders are tearing down the sets. All the prop master's job is to make sure that all the props get back to their respective prop houses or to Amazon in one piece. And then our art coordinator is off doing a shoot wrap, which basically is an Excel spreadsheet that has every single purchase and rate and everything line itemed out with copies of receipts. That is arguably one of the most important things about this job and working with clients, is keep your receipts. If you spend their money and they don't get to see where that money went, that money comes out of your pocket. Keep every single receipt when you're working for another client, and you make copies of them and you submit them at the end of the shoot, numbered, corresponding to an Excel spreadsheet with the same line items that you're gonna have it, sectioned out as, where you bought it, how much it cost, the purpose of it, and at the end there's the total, and then the clients can see exactly where their money went, because they go through that stuff with a fine-tooth comb, because taxes are no joke. They want to make sure that their money went to the right places, because I have myself even been on shoots when I wasn't PDing, been on shoots with production designers and art directors that pocket money from shoots and that falsify receipts. And we have, major art department, we've been on shoots where we've heard of producers doctoring catering receipts in order to make up for money that gets pocketed. I mean, I would be so scared I'd get caught. I don't understand the audacity. It's just, they're so bold, but it's being honest and just being organized. So I'm honest, but I am definitely not organized. So get someone with you that is. Savannah, who is my art coordinator on every single shoot that I do, knows how I run my stuff, knows how receipts need to be submitted, and knows how these client relations kind of run at the end of the shoot. And because they always come back to her like, where's this line item? And she gets to go back and highlight it. And she's like, right there. So you just, as long as you're organized and you do your due diligence ahead of time, it makes that wrap thing so much easier. Because by the time we get to the wrap, Savannah's already gathered everyone's receipts in a folder, and she's already started cataloging it out on an Excel spreadsheet. So it's really important to maintain a running budget as you're working. And then by the end, once we send that stuff in, we get an okay from the client, and then we move on to the next project. So it moves very quickly. Sometimes everything that I just told you happens within 72 hours. We've had it happen within 24 hours. And then sometimes you get really lucky, and I got 3 weeks to prep, and it's like, oh my God, what is this, And then my work is, yeah, go on, Liv.
Do you guys charge for the pitch with everything going on beforehand to get to the shooting point? Is there a situation where you might not get accepted to do the job and they go with someone else? Do you get paid for the effort that you made?
Now that I'm at a certain point in my career, and this might sound a little, if I get the call, they generally go with me. If I'm getting hit up for a shoot and sent over the creative, the only time they'll go with someone else is before I even get to that point and I send in money. If they send me a treatment and I'm like, okay, it's probably going to cost you, I'll give them an overhead number. If I'll get a treatment, I'll be like, just by looking at it from off the top of my head, I think you're gonna, for all in art department, I'm thinking you're gonna hit somewhere between 30 and 45 grand. If they're like, whoa, that's way out of their budget, I'm like, okay, call me next time. But once I get into the brass tacks of designing stuff, I've already been hired and those conversations have been had, which is why it's important to set those expectations early on of how much things are gonna be cost if you're not given a budget to begin with. Anyone else? Any questions about the process? Sure.
How are you protecting your artistic integrity? Like, you understand, like, how are you making sure people aren't ripping you off and taking your idea and possibly going to somebody else for cheaper? Like,
They literally do that all the time.
so what do you do about it? You just pivot?
Cry a little. And then generally at that point, I mean, it hasn't, to be honest, it hasn't happened in a long time because like I said, once I'm hired and once I'm sending in sketches, I'm hired, you know, and at that point, if I have to pivot on sketches, if I have to pivot on budget, I'll pivot with them. But back when I first started, I do remember, because I'm just like trying to get shoots because nobody had any friggin' faith in me in the beginning. Nobody thought I knew what I was doing, and I really didn't know what I was doing. But, you know, I'm sending out I'm like getting a treatment. I'm immediately doing all of that work. And then they'll be like, you know, too expensive. 2 months later, I'll see it on YouTube. It's, you know, it's a rendition of something that I designed. And there's even times now where I'll design a set and I'll put something together and it'll be out online and I'm like super proud of it. And 3 weeks later, I'll see a competing art department putting out the same thing, but watered down. It happens. But you have to keep in mind that, like I'm sitting here showing you pictures of sets that I get inspiration from. You know, everyone is kind of inspired by each other. So you really can't get too caught up or hung up on who's ripping off who. And as long as you're making it different enough and it's clearly not the same thing, believe me, I have had sets ripped off almost like shot for shot. And that sucks. There's nothing I can do about it. The labels, however, can go after whoever shot it, you know, and they can go after the big dogs on the project. But when it comes to me, I'm a contract worker. I provide a service, I provide a design, it gets shot, and then I'm off the project. If that production company wants to sue someone else for copying my stuff on their project that I was hiring for, that's up to them, but I can't do anything because that service no longer, like that creative no longer belongs to me once I build it for someone else. You feel me? Anybody else? Yeah.
Do you have a process on kind of like reviewing over all the previous work that you've done?
So I have a reel. I actually haven't done one this year. I can pull up our company website if you guys want to see that with our reel on it. If anyone wants to watch it, we can show this just to kind of once that loads. But you know, on here I will have, since I don't have it necessarily reflected in my reel because that is a really long, hard editing process. And when you're starting out, once you get enough projects under your belt, get someone to make you a reel. If you got any friends that know how to edit, get them to make you a reel because that is how I've booked so many jobs with this video. It's not even funny. Now I can send them my website and I try and update it as much as I can. You know, we did a bunch of those Earth Gang videos that came out recently for their new album. Those are on there. We did the Lotto Wheelie video. We did a Food Network show that's not shown in there. We did the KFC Jack Harlow campaign, which was really awesome. That was a fun one. You know, we have a bunch of stuff on here that isn't reflected in the reel, but that's how I keep it kind of updated. And then, you know, we even have a BTS reel or a BTS kind of page on here. You know, that shows just kind of behind the scenes, which is why, you know, Dries, it's important to have a photographer on set. You know, if you're trying to build your brand, you definitely want photos of you guys doing your thing that aren't loading. Here we go. Oh, this was here, the Jack Harlow Buffalo Wild Wings commercial we also did. I guess we had a thing with Jack Harlow and chicken, but, oh, here's that Twerkulator set. That's the, this was the beauty shop. This was a hard one. So that's what that looked like off camera, which was super cool. And then it was awesome. This thing back here was open in the back so we could stick all the models in so they could stick their heads out and do the wig thing. And then we put wigs in between their heads. But that was what that looked like. All of these signs and stuff were designed by our graphic designer, who's also our prop master and also our set decorator. Her name's Julia, and she's the bomb. And that's another important thing to recognize on set. You know, you guys, like, be very careful with logos. You want everything to be personally designed. You don't want to get in trouble. You don't want to be getting a call from someone else saying, hey, use my product without my permission. Because then that, oh, here's a BTS photo of Twerkulator when we were building that ridiculous, you know, cityscape, if it decides to load. But yeah, I mean, it's, the BTS part is really important. It shows the work, and it shows, you know, if you're able to show your clients like, hey, this is all the other stuff I can do. As soon as that's not going to load, so we'll just go back to the reel. Oh, I'm sure it was. He's taken a lot of BTS for me. Yeah, babe, what's up?
So I know you said that delegation is very important, like as you go up.
So I saw like all the sets that you were doing. So how often are you like hands-on, doing things?
I try to be as hands-on as possible, but the girls on Mad, they have this thing they've coined, the Hannah thing, where I like to come on set and touch everything that I'm not supposed to, and I unorganize everything, and I make my job harder for everybody else, or make the job harder for everyone else, because Savannah or Julia or Kelsey or Marty spend hours organizing a prop table, and I'll need something, and I'll go in there and just mess it all up, and then they'll have to come in and basically redo it. So I try and be as hands-on as I can without messing up the stuff I've already delegated to other people. There are times on set where, we get into crunch time and I'm having to do stuff that, Julia does or Marty does or Kelsey does. Like I'm having, on Torculator, I was in there throwing fake concrete at the wall to get it done in time. You have to be willing to jump into, whatever position is necessary. The more spoiled I've gotten as my career has kind of grown, it's sometimes hard for me to want to do the physical labor part, because that part isn't fun. I don't like to sweat on purpose. But, there are times where you have to recognize, this is your team. And if you're sitting in a chair while everyone else is busting their ass, that's not gonna look good. You wanna make sure that they feel supported and they feel like, their boss is in there with them, sweating it out and being miserable. Because sometimes it is. Yeah. Anyone else have another question before I play the reel? No? Yes?
From a producing standpoint, is there anything that a producer can do to make your communication with the other departments easier?
Connect us in the very beginning. As soon as you hire us on the job, you immediately connect us with the director and the DP, and then we have an art chat, like whether it's an email chain or whether it's a text chain, and we're immediately in there talking from the get-go. Because if I design something that's like super dope, the director, the producer likes it, it works in the producer's budget, it works for the director's vision, but then the DP comes on and is like, how am I supposed to shoot that? How am I supposed to light it? We don't have budget to get cameras that are gonna shoot this correctly. Like that's all stuff that needs to be considered from the get-go. You need to make sure you're talking to those people from the very beginning and you're, expressing as much as possible. There's also the times where, God, it's the worst thing, where I spend ages designing a set and building it and putting it together, and then I see the way it's getting shot or I see the way it's getting lit and it's wrong and it doesn't look good. And when DPs and directors and producers don't communicate with me, and I built the set, I designed it, I know how to light it, I know what's gonna look best. And that's when and I don't know anything about camera, you guys. I don't touch them, I don't go near them, I can't afford to fix them if I break them. It is not my department. But so I talk to the DP and I'm like, okay, well, if I make it this small, are you gonna be able to fit a Steadicam in? Or are you gonna be putting a camera on a dolly track? Like how are you going to be filming this, and how can I design it so it's easier for you, so it works for you? What kind of shots is the director trying to get? Same thing with lighting. I'm like, if I build a set and I paint all the walls with a super crazy high gloss paint, as soon as they try and light it, you're just gonna get spotlights and you're just gonna get sharps like all over the place, and it's gonna look terrible. I have to make sure that I'm communicating with them so that I know how they wanna light it. They know like the vibe I'm trying to give off. It's a really, really collaborative process in the beginning, and the more communication you have is way better. Let's see, anyone else? Any questions before I start this puppy? Yeah.
And what's your preference of communication? Because I know I heard you earlier saying like, just call me, don't text me till like.
Yeah, everyone that has ever worked with me or tried to work with me real time, I have 1,201 and one unread text messages right now.
Probably Sean Bacon in there.
I don't even want to know who's in there. It gets really overwhelming. Today alone, I've been on 4 hours of calls. Yesterday, it was more like 6 or 7. And it's 4 or 5 different projects that are all happening at the exact same time. So for me personally, if you're trying to hire me on something and I haven't talked to you previously about the project, please God, call me. I'll answer if you call me. If you text me, I'll be like, oh, that looks cool. I'll ask for it later. I'll do it later. And then I get 50 other people that text me about the other projects I'm already on, and that gets buried. And that's why I have 1,201 unread text messages. And then also, even just within my, within MAD, we have a group chat, which if we're not, talking about where we're drinking later, we're talking about the sets that we built a week ago, or props that haven't been returned, or someone doesn't feel good that morning and can't do something, or, we're talking about sets from next week. And I lose track in my own company chat. And there's stuff I miss in there all the time. So text messages for me, if you're hiring me personally, this is not necessarily for every production designer in the world. Please God, call me. Emails, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I hate emails. I have probably 30,000 in my inbox right now. More or less, just call me.
Okay.
Yeah, just call me. All right, so I'm gonna play my reel here for everybody. And again, this is 2021, so this is not including shoots from June of last year to now. And we've probably done at least 40 or 50, so enjoy. Is it gonna work? There we go. We also built that house, by the way, and then burned it down a day later. Yeah. I also found 13 puppies on that set and got them all adopted. Yeah. That was that. Stop. So that was edited by my friend Aries. I can tell you guys his Instagram if you guys are looking for a great video editor. He's amazing. He's a little expensive, but holy crap, is it worth it, you know? His Instagram, if you are interested, I will tell you right now.
You about to have 20 new followers.
I know, right?
You're like, who
Is-
was talking about me?
It's I-A-M Aries. So I am Aries. And just say, you know, you got his information from Hannah from Major Art Department, and he'll get you sorted. I'd say, if I'm going to be completely transparent, I paid almost $500 for that, which I was quoted at $1,500 plus for some other editors, and that is what this stuff costs. The amount of time that goes into editing. I've seen this stuff edited. It is hard. I've seen music videos edited. I've been in the editing rooms, and it is so intense. And I mean, he's edited that to the beat. He had effects on that shit, like that. Well worth my money. And that's something, if you're going to invest in your brand and you're going to invest in your company, this is something you need to have. Whether it's a website, whether it's a reel, whether it's a portfolio with just a bunch of pictures in it, you know, just start building your stuff from the beginning. I have a note in my phone of every single project I've ever worked on. And it's, you know, it's a lot. So, you know, keep track of everything you do so that when it comes time to show someone what you have done and what you're capable of, you have record of it. And that was, God, I forgot about so many of those projects. Like, I mean, the amount of stuff that we do, I mean, it's like seeing those for the first time, you know? I was also one of those, so I did Drip Like This back in the day with Young Dolph and Lil Baby, and I actually ended up working with Young Dolph really closely for a super long time. He was a really good friend of mine. And he was one of the first people that wasn't like a producer or director, that was an artist, that was like, hey, you're super dope. You should, like, we should collaborate. Like, you should come work with me. And he was one of the first people that really gave me that like initial, like, hey, you don't suck, and like, keep at it. And I know you work hard, and I see something from you. He was one of the first people that ever said that kind of stuff to me. So I owe a lot of like my current, you know, status, I think, to, you know, his positive words back in the beginning of my career. And it's all about finding people like that and surrounding yourself with people that believe in you from the get-go, because it gets really, it's, like I've said 1,000 times, this is really hard, and you get really discouraged really easily because, you know, I know it sounds like me saying, okay, I really started doing this when I was 22, 23, and I'm 26, about to be 27, and I've been very fortunate to have accomplished all this. It does not feel like it's been 3-4 years. I feel like I've been working for 10 years. We go project to project so fast. We work so much. We work, I cannot even begin. I mean, 90-hour weeks are awesome. Like, I'm like, fuck yeah, we only did 90 hours this week? Like, it is so intense. And it gets, you have to remember that like this stuff doesn't come easy, and you might not get it took me ages to get my big break. The amount of directors that when I first started out were like, you're super dope. Let's, I'm so happy I'm getting it on the ground floor and working with you from the beginning and starting out with you. And then they hire my competitors when, they want or they hire, they want someone cheaper or, and then I completely just go off their radar. And I, have gone out of my way for so many people, and I have sacrificed so much for so many people that did not return that. But the great thing is I have such great people around me now, and it took a long time to get there. It took a long time to get those people. I used to work with an art department that went out and started their own art department without even telling me, and a lot of that was like I said in the beginning, I came into this industry really hot and really mean and really uninformed. And I, acted like an ass for the better part of the beginning of my career. And it pushed a lot of people away, pushed a lot of people off. So when I started MAD, I had to start from the bottom. I had to relearn how to do my job correctly. I didn't just get here. It wasn't just a steady incline. I mean, this whole job, I feel like, has just gone up and down and up and down. And there have been months where we've gone without work. There have been times where we've gotten these really amazing project opportunities, and then it all falls through the cracks, and I've done all this work and it's all for nothing. I mean, there are so many instances in this career that, make you want to quit. But what it comes down to is this is the best job in the world. Like, I get to travel. Like I've been to two other countries this year, on work jobs. I've been all over the country. I do all the Apple Music Up Next little documentary things, and I've traveled all over with them. I've met some amazing, incredible people, and it just, once you find your people, you keep them with you. Loyalty goes a long way in this industry. And the girls that stuck with me when I was not getting the big clients or the big budgets, and they were working unpaid days, and they were, just today, my entire team, where I was sitting at home panicking about this, my entire team went and moved our entire storage unit full of all of our props into a much larger storage unit, and then went to they spent hours in the blazing heat moving all of my stuff for me. And the thing is I own major art department outright, but these girls treat this company like it's theirs as well. And it's something that I will forever be thankful for. And I'm very lucky to have people that are so dedicated to what I do and trust me so much. But it took me a long time to find that. So, don't get discouraged. Make sure you're keeping the right people around you. And you're going to have a lot of people that are going to come into your life and try and piggyback off your success. And some of them I have had many people that have, made me feel like I could trust them, and then come in and taken what they needed and gone off and done their own thing. And that's okay. I'm still where I'm at. I'm still teaching night school at Camp Creek Studios. Like things happen, and shit goes wrong. It's normal. Every single, regardless of what career you're doing or what you pursue, you're going to get screwed over. You just got to continue to believe in yourself and the people and you believe in the people that you've got around you, and you'll be fine. So with that inspirational kind of anecdote finished, I'm going to have y'all design a set for me. So I did bring a couple of rulers. They've been passed out already. I've got 3 more up here. If you don't have a ruler, here you go. You can also use, I have many a time. That's why I have graph paper for everybody, so you can measure out per, like cube on there. You can use a straight edge, whether it's the side of your phone. If someone wants to use this, they can. It's anything works. And the way that I normally do it with graph paper, which if you guys don't have graph paper, there's some right here. I passed them out earlier. Is I will do 1 foot 2 feet is 1 square. And that's how I scale out sets. So I would do a 1-to-2 ratio for sizing. So 1 foot equals 2 squares, or 2 feet equals 1 square, or even generally a flat, which is a portion of a wall, which we use to build our sets. They generally come in 4x8 sizes, or 4x10, or 4x14. So sometimes if it's a really big set I'm doing, then I'll do 1 square as 1 flat. So it'll do 1-to-4 ratio. So just whatever you prefer. For this one, I don't think you guys aren't going to need to do really big sets. I'd say for every square, that's about 2 feet. So this concept summary here will start. The concept of visual will have a boogie in a mirror house with multiple versions of himself looking in caps, real fly. We will have him going through different setups for multiple performance shots to show how much of a movie his life really is. This will be a visual feast for the eyes of his audience, for his audience cinematically. So this was the thing that I got excited about. Everyone's seen Get Out, right? That set, or us, thank you. Us, thank you. God, that's, again, I'm on 3 hours of sleep, ladies. So Us, this is one of the best like set design, like production design sets like ever. I love the way this whole movie was shot. The simplicity in the production design really makes it chilling. That underground bunker, that's a build. They built that. Like it is, I love the production design of this movie. Thank you. So he talks about this mirror room, right? And if you guys have seen Neon Demon, it's really friggin' creepy. If you like creepy, weird movies with great production design, Neon Demon is definitely a good one. Arguably my favorite movie though, just if you guys wanna watch it for production design, it is a foreign film. I speak Spanish, so it isn't that crazy for me, but it's called Pan's Labyrinth. And it has some of the most iconic sets that I feel like, in my opinion, have ever been built on a movie set ever. And then also any friggin' Marvel film ever, you know? I mean, but Pan's Labyrinth is one of my absolute most favorites because that's one of those ones where you can tell that the DP, the director, and the PD worked really closely to really bring like this other world to life. But I would really suggest watching that. Any of Wes Anderson's movies, I mean, it's very much a style, his movies. But God, they're beautiful. Marie Antoinette is another big favorite of mine because I've been to the Palace of Versailles. I have like a really weird obsession with Marie Antoinette and have done since I was a kid. Like for my 10th grade history project, I literally made her out of cake because, you know, she said, let them eat cake. I mean, long time obsessed with her. And so that movie I really loved because they did shoot some of those scenes in Versailles at the castle or at the palace, but they also had to recreate a lot of these sets because that's historical as hell. They're not going to want grip teams in there, you know, attaching stuff to 500-year-old wallpaper, you know. So they had to recreate sets exactly, which as someone that does what I does, I mean, that blows my mind. That is so hard to do. Because I mean, you get down to even like the detail and the molding they replicated. I mean, it's all so intricate and it's a really beautiful film. But with this one here, sorry, back to this. So one of the things I think I'm gonna have you guys, this one, I'd love to capture a shot of Boogie in a dressing room with clothing lines going in opposite directions behind him. This takes us to his first verse. Here he'll be walking down a hallway performing the first half of verse 1. I want to get a lot of clothing lines to the side of him. Models will be trying to offer him to try these clothes on. Let's light this up real bright and vibrant. Mountains of Money. I have a personal rule now because I've been doing this for so long and I started in rap music videos that if a video treatment has 2 of the following 5 things, I do not take the project, and that is trap houses, lots of money, strip clubs, guns, or drugs. If you have a combination of 2 or more of those things, I do not do the thing because the film. And it's not because of any moral thing, because I have made hella cocaine bricks at my house, fake ones. Maybe. But you know, I have done all of that so often. If I have to burn one more pot on a stove to make it look like they've been cooking something they're not supposed to, I'm gonna put a bullet in my head. You know, it's something I'm tired of. It's been done. And so that's just my personal creative, you know, me being a brat. Like I just don't take those jobs anymore. For Shaq, I'd take it. Okay, Boogie will be in a room with 2 models rubbing on him. We've got the movie theater shots. We're back to the mirror room. What I think I want you guys to do today is this mirror room or the front of it, the entrance. So give it some sort of like carnival. I mean, you can make it like a creepy carnival thing. You could do more like, you know, you could be a little more creative with it, and you know, you could make it almost, you could do like the whole kind of background. You could show me a roller coaster in the background if you wanted, but just give me the facade of the entrance. I think that could be super cool. You can incorporate the name of the song, Man in the Mirror, into this, or you can design me a setup for the mirror room. And if you want to incorporate other little like festival, carnival bits into it, you can. And then I'm going to give you one more option here is, since we're just on the carnival like subject, design me one of those games and what that would look like on camera. And like a cool, interesting, you can either take a game that already exists, like the balloon darts, and be like, okay, but every time they throw a dart at a balloon, blood comes out of it. You know, something cool. You can do a carnival game. You can do the facade of the mirror setup, or you can actually do the mirror setup. I'm gonna be walking around. If you guys need any tips, tricks, or you need anything, don't hesitate to ask. If you've got your phones with you, I definitely would suggest looking up just like maybe a 1-point perspective drawing. Don't do the whole tutorial. It'll take you forever. You'll be here all night. Just look up what a 1 points perspective drawing looks like and kind of try and mimic that. I could give you the whole like drawing lesson, but that would easily take me an hour. But you know, you start with the center point and just kind of build out from that. That's how I generally do it. Sometimes it for me is even my center. If I get a treatment and I'm like, okay, the one thing in this treatment that really sticks out to me is this custom couch I'm gonna have to build. So I draw the couch out and then I build a set around it. So, you know, you think of something that you've already thought of, like you take that, like the one thing that when I was talking just now, if you had an idea pop into your head, start by drawing that one thing out, whether it's in the center of the set, in the background, they're here for me. If it's in the center of the set, if it's in the background, doesn't matter. Start with the first thing you thought of when I was talking about this stuff and go from there and build out from it. I'm gonna give you guys a couple minutes to work and then I'll walk around. If you need any help, let me know. This does not have to look pretty. You guys are basically, again, don't feel like you have to present it. If you are compelled, hell yeah, and I'd love to critique it. But because I know not everybody is you know, super extroverted. It is hard talking in front of a large group of people, but even if you want to pull me aside after and pitch it to me, I'm happy to critique it for you. But also, you know, you are going to have to be pitching these sets to large rooms of clients and on calls with very important people. You got to learn how to talk to a lot of people at once. And I think this is a great opportunity. You're all beginners here, you know, so it's just, there's no judgment. So I think this would, if you are, you know, feel comfortable, I think it'd be a great place for you guys to start in presenting your ideas. So yeah, draw away. All right, I think that's good. I think we're done. Thank you guys so much for coming. I had a really nice time. I was hella nervous walking in here, and I think I went okay. Not good. but of course. And if you guys have any questions, I know we got to get out of here by 10. So if you guys have any questions, like I said, I do not answer text messages. I really don't. I'd love to be that person. I'm just not. DM me on Instagram if you have any, you know, have any questions or anything, or if you want me to look at your sets after the fact, you know, I can hang around for a little bit as long as, you know, these guys will let me take up their time. And then if I don't get to you, that's totally fine. Again, just DM me on Instagram, be like, hey, you know, I want to kind of do this. And then, you know, with Major Art Department, you know, we are always hiring. We are always looking for new people to add to the team, male or female. And if this is something, you know, you're interested in, we're probably hiring our next round of interns in the next 2 months. So thank you guys so much for coming. I appreciate it.